So basically, I went to RYM. I went to charts. I typed in breakup. You don't need to know why. Then I went to all time. I listened to all 40 records. All 40 records that showed up in the first page. And I listened to it in 48 hours. I was pretty much just listening to music the entire time. Every time I did anything, I was in the bathroom. I was taking a shower. Literally, when I was doing anything, I was listening to music. I've barely slept. I'm really fucking tired. And I've already recorded all of this. I'm re-recording them because something went wrong with the previous footage. Just a quick disclaimer, I don't know anything about music. I'm not entirely sure I know what a chord is. I know like 3 instruments. I mean, like, I know of them, not that I know how to play them. Guitar, piccolo, harp. There might be others. So first up, we have Disintegration by The Cure, ranked number 1. I really like this record. It's kind of like everything you want from a breakup record. Like, it's somber and personal, but it's also like epic, for like lack of a better word. Like it's kind of luscious and dreamy and spacey and dense. This wouldn't be my pick for number 1. Like, I'm not mad at it being number 1. Like, it's a good number 1 pick. My only problem with this record is there's like a middle chunk that just sucks. It starts really strong and it ends really strong. The last 4 tracks are great, and like the first few tracks are amazing. Pictures of You is probably my favorite track. I recommend this album if you're a pretty little goth NB who wants to ascend to a higher plane. Also, if you're a pretty little goth NB, then you should hit up my DMs.
Get on my horse.
Okay, dude, this fucking webcam. I swear to God. I'm just not gonna move. I'm just gonna stay here. Just not gonna move. I'm just gonna lean on the wall. So next up is Bob Dylan, Blondes on Blondes. I'm not a big fan. We're only on the second album, and I feel like I'm already gonna piss off a lot of people. The music is pretty stripped down, which is fine because I get that it's like a singer-songwriter record, so my focus is more on the lyrics and the vocal performance. But the vocal performance didn't really do anything for me. It didn't like elicit any feelings for me. Not that it was like monotone. It wasn't, but it's something adjacent to monotone. I can't think of the word. I went to school for finding the right words, by the way. He also like does this weird intonation. Like, take a clip. What is that? He does that throughout the entire record. I don't get it. I don't really like it. I do like the lyrics though, but like I have a hard time appreciating the lyrics because the vocals aren't doing a lot for me. Pretty much the entire time I was listening to it, I kept being reminded of Fallout. So I recommend this album if you're a courier who has to deliver a platinum chip to Vegas.
The game was rigged from the start.
Now we're at Dummy by Portishead. This is more my speed. I really like the glitchy and loopy production. Pretty much the entire time I just wanted to like nod my head and tap my foot to the beat, which is, you know, usually cool, but it's not really what I'm looking for in a breakup record. It's hard to be in touch with your feelings when you're jamming, you know what I mean? This album kind of feels like being haunted by a winter hip-hop ghost, and the simulation is lagging. I recommend this album if you randomly decide to take a walk at night, because apparently insomnia is a side effect of heartbreak. Not that I would know. Nothing happened to me. I just decided to listen to 48 hours of breakup records. Just
Why are we still here?
I'm just bored. If I pissed you off before, because I didn't like Blonde on Blondes, then hopefully I can redeem myself somewhat in your eyes, because I really like this record. Just for comparison, like immediately the music sounds a lot more pleasant to me. The harmonica is still there, but it's a lot more it's used a lot more sparingly, which I appreciate, because sometimes the harmonica can kind of be grating. I really like the lyrics more on this one, but I don't know if that's just because I like his vocal performance more in this one, so the lyrics are just landing better. But these sort of lyrics are like pretty in line with my tastes. Like, they're straightforward and detailed, but like subtle and understated. Like, it focuses more on scenarios rather than emotions, but the emotions are like still there, like it's hinted at. I would read like almost all of this as straight up poetry. Look, I don't think songwriting necessarily has to like stand up by itself, but when it does, it's good. It covers a lot of different angles of heartbreak. This record, you know, like from losing someone by chance, from someone handling the breakup much better than you, to like falling in love too fast and having it not work out. You know, I'm sure there are some people out there who can relate to those things, but I don't. Anyway, I recommend this album if you wouldn't pull the lever in the trolley problem. I don't know what that means. Okay, now we have Suvlaki. We have the Slow Dive record. I'm a pretty big fan of Shoegaze, so I was looking forward to listening to this one, and it delivered for the most part. I don't know if I would put it over like the other Shoegaze records I like, but to be fair, it's pretty much impossible to get over Death Consciousness.
Play the forbidden note.
I feel like this leans more towards the dream pop side than the shoegaze side, which isn't a bad thing. It's like a really mellow and sad record, but while still having that like edge and aggression that's like typical of shoegaze. I think the general shoegaze vibe is like perfect for a breakup record, because it has the sadness and the melancholy, but it also has that edge and aggression like bubbling. But it's like it's never separate. It's like two of them like consistently riding together. Because I have a feeling that's what heartbreak is like. I feel like that joke is getting old already, and it's probably only funny to me because only I understand how many layers of irony I'm in there. I feel like most people will think I'm on like 1 or 2 layers of irony. Dude, I'm on like 7. Anyway, I recommend this album if you've ever skipped PE to smoke a cigarette behind the gym. Okay, now we have The Glow Part 2. This is the first album in the chart that I've already listened to, and this is one of my all-time favorite records. Very big fan of Mr. Philly Elverum. I hope you're doing okay, man. It's hard to explain why I really like this album. But if you've never heard it, basically it's like it's kind of juggling 2 very distinct tones. One of them is kind of like this quiet, somber, singer-songwriter-esque side that's kind of like wispy. You know, it's just Phil and his acoustic guitar singing, and the other side is just like an explosion of anxieties, and it constantly like goes back and forth between those 2 things, and something about that just works. I feel like it's a good depiction of my experience with anxiety and depression. I really like the lyrics in this record. I think some of the most relatable lyrics, even in this, like in these 40 albums, it's probably one of the most relatable lyrics, especially in the title track. I don't really want to get into it because it's very poetic, lots of imagery, lots of metaphor, while still staying like relatively grounded. I mean, it kind of does like go up its own asshole a little bit now and then, but and the lyrics often like get drowned out by the music, so you won't understand it most of the time anyway. But I kind of love that about it. It kind of feels like your thoughts getting drowned out by just noise. But yeah, I really like this album. Something I never knew about this album is that it actually released on 9/11, like 9/11 proper in 2001. Anyway, I recommend this album if you think George Bush did it.
If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Don't save her.
Now we're on songs of Leonard Cohen. I just kind of found this one really boring. Okay, now we're at Blonde, Frank Ocean. It's good. It's another. I've listened to this one before, obviously, and it's good. It's Blonde by Frank Ocean. Do I even have to talk about this? I recommend this album if you've been living under a rock. Odyssey and Oracle by the Zombies. It's a really fun pop record. I don't really listen to music like this a lot. I listen to like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. So that's like it. But I really like this one. I'm not sure if it works as a breakup album, just because it's too much fun. Like it has some hard hitting lyrics, but like I have a hard time getting affected by it because I'm like too busy jamming. And there are tracks like Beechwood Park that work as a breakup song, I think. I kind of don't really get this approach to breakup records, but I guess everyone copes differently. So I can see someone finding some kind of like catharsis in injecting some joy into a really painful experience. So I guess I do get it. Anyway, I recommend this record if you're a struggling artist. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. So I did look up like best breakup albums on DuckDuckGo because I'm cool and I use DuckDuckGo. I'm better than you. And like this album tops like a lot of lists. I don't really get it. It's a really fun record, but I don't think it works well as a breakup record. I also don't even think it works great as an album. Like the singles here are great. All the songs are great, really. It's banger after banger, for the most part. There's some quiet ones, but that's not what people listen to. People talk about Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. They're talking about the hits. You know, like Go Your Own Way, or The Chain, or Dreams. But I feel like the combination of all these tracks doesn't really create like a bigger whole. And I get that it's not a concept album, so it's not trying to do that. But also every album is a concept album. I'm so fucking pretentious, man. Anyway, I recommend this one if you really like cranberry juice. Blue by Joni Mitchell. So like first things first, absolutely incredible vocal performance. Really like beautiful and powerful and varied. She just sells these lines, man. I mean, when she asks you, "Do you want to dance with me?" Like, when she asks you like that, I mean, the answer is just yes. You know, I want to dance with you, Joni Mitchell. Give me a call. Actually, I have no idea if she's still alive. She's alive. We're good. She's 77. I'd still dance with you. Let's go. I like how straightforward the lyrics are. I think that's what you want. When you sing this good, you just kind of want your lyrics to hit immediately. You don't want your audience to like get distracted and have to think about what the lyrics mean. Like just, if you're hitting this hard with your voice, then hit with your lyrics. You just punch him in the dick is what I'm saying. It's not really a breakup album though, it's more like a lonely album. I guess those two things kind of go hand in hand. Some highlights are like All I Want, Little Green, California, Represent. The Last Time I Saw Richard. I recommend this album if you're looking for the beauty in becoming a servant of sadness. That's a really obscure reference. I'm pretty sure no one's gonna get that. Cosmos Factory, Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's kind of fun, I guess. I think this is what they call dad rock, and not really a fan of this type of music. I recommend this one if you want to wear polo shirts. Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins. I've listened to this record before, but it's never become like a part of my rotation of albums that I cycle through. And I don't know why, because this is pretty fucking good. It has that, you know, shoegaze quality of like being sad and angry, but while still managing to like be melancholic and pensive. But this is a lot angrier than the other shoegaze records we covered by Slow Dive. I didn't really understand most of the lyrics. Usually I have the lyrics in front of me for this project. That's what we're calling this quarter life crisis. But I was listening to this one while taking a walk, so I have no idea what the lyrics are. But it doesn't really matter because like tonally, it just the tone itself makes for a great breakup album. There's so much depth to every track, like sonically. I do think this album like goes on way too long. At a certain point, like they all just kind of blend together. Like not much of it stands out, and I get that that's fairly typical of shoegaze, but this one's really long. Today is a strong highlight though. I recommend this album if you've ever left a party for being too boring and then you just end up being more bored at home. Igor, Tyler the Creator. Big fan. I've listened to this one before, and this is probably my favorite record from Tyler. It's just a fantastic breakup album. I like how nostalgic it sounds. Has like that crackly production, makes it sound older than it is. It's a really catchy album, which is like, I think at first, like from all the albums we covered, so which is good because I know some people like they want to be able to sing along with the breakup record to like get the emotions out. Again, I wouldn't know. It's really emotional. Anyway, I recommend this album if you're a pretty boy living on the west side. Weezer Blue Album. So I've listened to this one before, obviously. I haven't really been into Weezer since high school. I've always been like a Pinkerton kind of guy. But recently I've kind of warmed up to the Blue Album. I've kind of cooled on Pinkerton a little bit. But you know, it's Weezer Blue Album. It's really catchy. It's fucking Rivers Cuomo can write a hook. You know the fucking hits. You played Guitar Hero. I recommend this album if you've ever tried to learn Japanese solely because of anime. You Will Never Know Why by Sweet Trip. I really like this one. I haven't listened to this one before, but I think this is one of my favorite records now. I mean, it's another shoegaze adjacent record. Like, it's definitely mainly pop. Like, it's a pop album first and foremost, but it has some shoegaze influence, and you can tell. I like the blend of electronic sounds and guitar sounds. I like how varied this record is. It feels like every track brings something new, you know. But the whole thing still feels like cohesive. The whole record kind of has like this sweet and luscious, candy-like, spacey sound. It kind of sounds like The Color Chrome. Does that make sense? This is a true breakup album too. Like most of the tracks are about losing love. Even though the album can get kind of groovy at times, because it maintains like this dreamlike state, it allows me to stay in that like drifting away space mentally. Air Supply is fantastic, great song. Air Supply. Milk is a fantastic breakup song. One of my favorites that I listened to these past 48 hours. Darkness is super edgy and cheesy, but I kind of love that about it. I also like the instrumentals in that one. Anyway, I recommend this album if you've ever tried to jump inside someone else's mind to create artificial wish fulfillment memories. You know, I'm surprised it took this long to get to a Radiohead record, considering this is RYM. OK Computer is number one, suck my dick. I've only listened to like Kid A and OK Computer before, from Radiohead. So, like, I would consider myself a fan, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not like super into them. This one's like nothing like those records. This one's really soft and quiet, but like really pretty. Like nothing about it is gonna blow you away. It's more like just like really slow and subtle burn. Like it's more atmospheric than anything else. It's really good when you're in that like pensive, wistful, melancholic space. Dude, I'm pretty sure I've said the word melancholic like 100 times and we're not even halfway through. To be fair, it's a video about 40 breakup songs, all from one website. Like, there's only so many adjectives, you know. But yeah, it's a really pretty sounding album. I mean, just like play it and lay down and cry. I recommend this one if you play Control decks in card games. Jane Doe by Converge. Finally, some good fucking math. It's really funny going from a moon-shaped pool to this. It's a very explosive album, very aggressive album, like face melting. It's math, so it has, you know, weird time signatures and shit like that. It's not really much else to say other than that. I recommend this one if you're having trouble with integrations. Let Love In by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. This is kind of unique in that it's a breakup record where the speaker is the bad guy. I don't mean like the guy fucked up, the guy blames himself, or the guy is just self-hating. No, I mean like the guy's the bad guy. Like he's evil. You can see this in tracks like Nobody's Baby Now and Loverman. Loverman. It needs a hyphen. Otherwise it's Loverman. But I like it. It appeals to like this self-hating side that comes with something like a breakup. You know, it acknowledges like the dark and kind of fucked up and evil thoughts that kind of come with something like that. It's a great sounding album too. It's like very satanic sounding album, but like a cartoon Satan, like a scheming cartoon devil. It's a great vocal performance. It's a very creepy sounding album that sometimes just explodes into like intense panic or anger or insanity. It almost sounds like a horror movie at points. I recommend this one if you're into male nipples. Okay, now we're Have One On Me by Joanna Newsom. Dude, it's over 2 hours long. Like, this was the last album I listened to on the first day, and I was done. It was already like super late. I was fucking tired. I was listening to music all day. I fucking passed the fuck out. I passed the fuck out at some point. It's really good too. That's the worst part. Is from what I heard, it's good. So I'll probably like go back to this album one day and listen to it in its entirety. Sorry. I recommend this album if you have 2 fucking hours. Twin Fantasy by Car Seat Headrest, Mr. Will Toledo. Anyone who knows me knows I'm kind of a huge Car Seat Headrest fanboy. So I've listened to this album before, and it's one of my favorite albums. And I think at one point in time, it was my favorite album. The RYM chart lists the 2018 version here, but I prefer the 2011 version, so that's what I'm going to talk about. This is my video. What I really love about this album is that it's shit. Obviously it's not shit, but there's like a lot of really sus and really cringe and like really cheesy parts, but that's why I love the album. It's hard not to be charmed by it. That's why I prefer 2011 to 2018. Like, don't get me wrong, I like 2018. I listen to it now and then, and I actually prefer some of the tracks on. So much of what makes Twin Fantasy work is how flawed and personal it is. Like, it really does feel like an album that a 19-year-old just poured their heart and soul into in their bedroom. But yeah, you know, there's some embarrassing parts. I mean, parts like it should be called anti-depression, that whole thing. I mean, that's just straight up r/I'm 14 and this is deep. Or every conversation ends with you screaming, not even words, just. And that's actually one of my favorite parts of the record. It's so cheesy though. Like, not to mention all the furry shit in this record. People kind of overblow it. There's actually not that much furry shit, but admittedly, any amount of furry shit is too much furry shit. So everything I've said might give you the impression that I think Will is a bad songwriter. It's not the case. I really like Will's songwriting. I think he's one of the best songwriters working right now. It's clearly Will's biggest strength as an artist, but I kind of feel like people misunderstand his strength. The way I hear some people talk about Will Toledo's writing, they kind of like make him out to be like this Bob Dylan-esque storyteller, and like he's an okay storyteller. Like he's a good storyteller for sure. He can tell stories, but I don't think that's where his strength is. That's not what his superpower is. He excels at is that he can create like really memorable and really quotable moments. Twin Fantasy especially, like this album is filled to the brim with memorable moments. Like there's so many moments in this album that I just find myself constantly like thinking about or like quoting to myself too. And that happened like by the second time I listened to the album. You know, I've listened to this album like 100 times now, but that's not why it's in my head. Like I can't name all the moments, obviously, because there's too much. But like here are some. And this. And this. All that is just from one track. It's a fucking great breakup album too. Like, if you're not in shambles by the time Will screams Famous Prophets, then I don't believe you actually got your heart broken. I'm just kidding, obviously. I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's feelings. Anyway, I recommend this album if you're a queer ancom who's really into dogs.
I bet Marx would think I'm pretty.
Quebec by Ween. I haven't really listened to a lot of Ween before. I've listened to one Ween song, and you know exactly which one I'm talking about. From what I understand, they're like typically humorous, and this album is meant to be like a more serious record, but it's honestly like still funny, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it certainly stands out in this pack of albums. I mean, this album does get serious now and then. It's kind of neat. It's an album that like melds these like goofy and somber feelings together and just like tries to make them work, and for the most part it does. I recommend this album if your doctor told you to go see Pagliacci. Titanic Rising, Wise Blood. I listened to this when it came out, and this is one of those albums that's just like gets better with every listen for me. More than any other record in this list, this is the one that like puts me the most in that like dreamlike ethereal state. It's just like really lush, beautiful and dreamy and cloudy. It's easy to get lost in this album. The album art kind of does this album justice, because it really does feel like you're underwater. It just has like this mystical and floaty feel. Natalie's vocals are top tier. I recommend this one if you can list all of Tarantino's movies by memory. Now we're at Pinkerton, Weezer. So like I said before, I kind of cooled on this album a little. I still like it, but I definitely don't like it as much as I did in high school. I was kind of obsessed with this. It's just really embarrassing, and I get that that's the point. Like trust me, more than anyone, I get that that's the point. That's a lot of the charm of this record. Is in just how lame and dorky it is. At some point, it just stopped being charming and just started becoming straight up embarrassing. That might be a personal thing. I might be like associating it with a particular time in my life, so I can't separate them. But I still really like this album. I mean, it's got a lot of catchy and relatable tracks. And it's just such a sincere and earnest album that it's hard not to have fun with it. I was fucking singing Why Bother to check my mic earlier, so. Also, here's Rose. Take it away, Rose.
It's gonna hurt me. It's gonna kill
That's
me.
Rose.
You desert me.
I recommend this one if you think Dark Souls 2 is the best one. When the Pond by Fiona Apple. It's a singer-songwriter record where the music is actually interesting. I mean, it's not like mind-blowing. It's, you know, just pop for the most part. It throws in some interesting and original ideas now and then, but you don't come to this album for the music. It's definitely like still a singer-songwriter record at its core. Every track is like about a certain aspect of breakup or heartbreak. The lyrics tend to have like a strong focus on emotion rather than scenarios, but it delivers. It doesn't feel that personal, which might be a problem, because I know that a lot of people like turn to singer-songwriter records because they want to hear like more personalized stories. I mean, it makes the whole thing a lot more relatable, but some of the metaphors are a little cliche and just cheesy. Some are just straight up embarrassing, like. But it's difficult to get mad at anything here. Like, it's a very solid breakup record. I recommend this album if you've ever fallen in love with an onion. Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes. It really does feel like applying hot butter to your soul. That's like a fucking rough criminal type of line.
I think we finally sound famous.
At the point when this came on, I was already regretting doing this fucking project. It's the 26th album I've listened to. I'm so fucking sick of music at that point. I forgot to take notes. I didn't take notes. I don't know what to say. It's good. It's soulful. It's buttery. It's smooth as fuck. It's good. I recommend this album if you've ever had sexual dreams with a pancake. Emergency and I by Dismemberment Plan. It's a very playful record. Like, it has a really varied track list. Like, it'll go from like math to pop punk, and then I'll get groovy out of nowhere, and then I'll get depressing. Like, it's hard to get bored with this album. Something about it reminds me of like childhood and high school, probably because of how imbalanced and angry it is, while still being like fun and energetic. I like the usage of electronic sounds here. Like, it's definitely like the rock instruments are at the forefront. There's a layer of beeps and boops somewhere in there, and gives it some depth, you know, some texture, and it makes the whole thing sound futuristic, but like a 20th century idea of what the future is like the Jetsons. I recommend this album if you're really into roller skating. Roller Coaster by Red House Painters. Really sad album, really delicate, really lonely, really quiet and slow, very, very slow and understated. Katie's song is a masterpiece. The rest of the album is good, but Katie's song is like the perfect breakup song. There's really not much else to say. I recommend this album if you're thinking about them right now. Zuma by Neil Young and Crazy Horse. It's funny because the first track opens with "Don't Cry," and this comes right after Red House Painters. I really like this album. It's a singer-songwriter record that shreds the electric guitar and like throws in some country twang in there. Like even though it rocks pretty hard, it still maintains like an overall melancholic. There should be like a counter or something. But it's just a really good country record. Cordes the Killer has like a famous guitar solo. Pretty good guitar solo. I recommend this album if you've ever unironically uttered the phrase, "I like all music but country." It's like the first tried and true hip hop record, I think. Like, you know, like some classic, just honest to goodness hip hop. Hearing her sing on X Factor like blew my mind. Because she's a great singer. And usually like you're one or the other. You know, you're either a good rapper and a bad singer, or you're a good singer and a bad rapper. But no, she excels at both. She's kind of like Drake if Drake wasn't embarrassing.
Deadbeat motherfucker.
Let that boy come home, man. But yeah, it seamlessly like jumps back and forth between like boom bap, 90s hip hop, and R&B. It's so just a really warm and comforting record, you know, like it's trying to cheer you up. But I hate those fucking skits. They're so bad. I hate skits in general, but like these ones especially are like they're just too much. They're too cheesy. They're too saccharine. And it just feels unnecessary. Like the album was already long enough. Like what is it, like an hour and 17 minutes? Like, and there's like a skit like every other track. Like you know what the worst part is? You can't even cut them out because they're like part of the tracks. You know, like it's not like one of those records where like the skits have their own tracks, so you have to. Anyway, I recommend this record if you're hiding a child. We're gonna do like a lightning round from here because this is this is going on for too long. I'm tired. Let's get through a few of them real quick. So Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin, short and sweet breakup record. I recommend this one if you play as a cleric in role-playing games. Talking Book by Stevie Wonder, really romantic, really funky. I recommend this one if you went to prom by yourself. Down Colorful Hill by Red House Painters. It's more depressing than the previous one. I recommend this one if you're 24 and you're having an existential crisis. Fuck. Wild as the Wind by Nina Simone. Heartbreaking. I recommend this album if you're in your last glass of liquor. Jackson C. Frank by Jackson C. Frank. It's sad white guy with acoustic guitar music, except it's actually good. I recommend this if you're trying to get to Dogwood Drive using the Zero. We're gonna end lightning round there because this is one of my favorite albums. It's hard to describe this record. It's just like a cacophony of sounds. It's just like a bunch of genres jammed into one space until it explodes into like emo breakdowns. Yeah, that's what it is. This album sounds like it's having a breakdown. Like, it's a great depiction of anxiety, I think. I really like this comment. I feel like that says a lot. The vocal performance is incredible. If you've listened to this record, you might be scoffing at that statement. It's like this guy sounds like SpongeBob. But listen, like this guy sells every single line. Like lyrics like this shouldn't work. There's no universe that lyrics should work, but they do work because he just sells them. He's a fucking grifter. He just sells you broken shit. He delivers it in such a pained and desperate way. He makes it sound like they're just unwanted thoughts and feelings just involuntarily leaving his body. Like he's just puking them out. Fucking Untitled to Obeyed to It's Not What You Think It Is like my favorite trio of tracks. Like so much of it is just really relatable. It's about dealing with the aftermath of unrequited love while suffering from anxiety and depression. But theoretically relatable. I mean, I haven't been through that. Ultimately, this album is less about the breakup, and it's actually more about like growing out of all the emo bullshit, growing out of your emo phase, while still being attacked by those feelings. Like it's a constant effort to fight against those feelings. Plays with like a lot of emo tropes, like hating the town you're in, but it uses that trope as like a metaphor for being trapped in this mental space. You know, it's like a lot of emo are just like, but I want to leave this town. I can't fucking get away from this town. And he takes that and it's about not being able to leave this negative thought pattern. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good record. I recommend this record if you're really into Malcolm in the Middle.
You hate everyone. To you, everyone's either a moron or a creep or a poser. Why do you suddenly care about their opinion of you?
Because I'm shallow, okay? I want them to like me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space by Spiritualized. The opening track is one of my favorite songs now. This is my first time listening to this record, and just immediately it won me over, just with the opening track. It's just like a really gorgeous opening track. I mean, I love the layering of the vocals here. Like, there's nothing about the lyric themselves that's like potent, just like the repetition and the echoing and like just the fact that like it keeps hitting you over and over like waves, you know, just fucking gets me. I mean, and then like the usage of Elvis's "I Can't Help But Falling in Love with You." I mean, that's just GG. How do you recover from that? I kind of wish this was the sound of the whole record. It kind of veers drastically now and then, but it's a good breakup record, especially in tracks like the opener, "All of My Thoughts," "Home with the Brave," "Heartbroken." "Cool Waves" is a really cool track too. Anyway, I recommend this album if you think we should defund the police. Violent Femmes, self-titled. I haven't listened to this album since high school. I still like it, but I do kind of think that it's too late now. Like, this album is like, high school is kind of the perfect time for this album. Like, everything about it just kind of screams high school, you know, like the anxiety, the angst, the humor, the insecurities, you know, the whole thing. I mean, one thing I didn't appreciate when I was in high school is how funny this record is. I listened to this one with a friend, and we just both died laughing at "Give Me the Car."
Come on, Dad.
Give me
the car tonight.
I do still like it, but I'm not as in love with it as I used to be. I recommend this album if you hated reading out loud in class. Helplessness Blues by Fleet Foxes. I've listened to this album before, and I do like it, but I haven't listened to it a lot. I actually can't talk about this one, so I'm just gonna net deck Fantano's review. On Helplessness Blues, Fleet Foxes improved just about everything that they were doing on their last album. Keep in mind the keyword here is improve, not change. Yes, the band is still walking down the same path they were on their previous LP, but they're much further down the road, and they've got a different story to tell. The songs on this album are extremely romantic, and not just in the sense that two lovers are romantic with one another. This album is unbelievably in love with everything around it. It finds great beauty in the world at large, and it's led to captivating melodies and poetic lyrics that tip a hat to songwriting greats like Paul Simon. The instrumentation could come off kind of busy and overbearing for a first-time listener, but the water feels fine after the initial shock. This thing is beautifully produced from my point of view. More detail gets pulled out of this thing with each listen, lyrically and sonically. This is one that I'll be visiting again and again throughout the year. I recommend this one if you're really into melons. Transition, Idler Real by Fiona Apple. This was the last album, and at that point I did listen to it, but I didn't pay attention at all. Like, I was just ready for it to be over. I was so tired. I'm so tired right now. I'm fucking... Oh, God. I remember the lyrics being impressive. Like, I remember that, like, impressing me. And I remember the vocals being good. I remember it eliciting some feelings out of me. That's all I remember. I recommend this album if you mention liking sushi on your Hinge profile. Okay, well that was it. That was all 40 records. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm not even done. I have to edit this whole thing. It's fucking. You might ask, did this help? You know, was this worth it? Do you feel better? No. This is the worst idea I've ever had. Don't do this. Listen, I'm gonna do you a solid. If you're having a rough time right now and you're looking for music to like help you through it, I'm gonna make a playlist. I took the 10 best breakup songs from those 40 albums and I put them into one playlist, and it's only like 40 minutes long. Try to make it a cohesive record or playlist, and I don't know, I think it's really good. I mean, try it. It's not gonna do anything, but it might be fun, you know. I don't know how to end this video. Why bother? It's gonna hurt me. It's gonna kill when you desert me. This happened to me twice before. Won't happen to me anymore. I've known a lot of girls before. What's the harm in knowing one more? Maybe we could even get together. Maybe you could break my heart next summer. Why bother? It's gonna hurt me. It's gonna kill when you desert me. This happened to me twice before. Won't happen to me anymore.